classifications available. So I'll go to the classification which is pertinent to the clinical scenarios. So myopia, as we know, is the image is formed in front of the retina instead of at the fovea. So based on clinical entity, there are simple myopia, nocturnal myopia, pseudomyopia, degenerative myopia, and induced myopia. What is that simple myopia? An eye with simple myopia is an otherwise normal eye that is either too long for its optical power or less commonly too optically powerful for its axial length. Simple myopia, which is much more common than the other type of myopia, is generally less than 6 diopter. Astigmatism may occur in conjunction with simple myopia. Nocturnal myopia is the one occurring only in dim illumination. Nocturnal or night myopia is due to primary to increased accommodative response associated with low level of light. Next, coming to the pseudomyopia. Pseudomyopia is a very common entity we find in our clinical practice, especially in children. Sometimes we find very high myopia, and after doing cycloplegic refraction, we get to know the true refractive error. So whenever we find younger children and even in young adults high myopia and the person is wearing the glass for the first time, we should do a cycloplegic refraction. Because it may be there is a overstimulation of eye's accommodative mechanism which gives to ciliary prism, and that gives rise to the pseudomyopia. The condition is named because the patient only appears to have myopia due to an inappropriate accommodative response. Coming to the degenerative myopia, a high degree of myopia associated with degenerative changes in the posterior segment of the eye is known as degenerative or pathological myopia. It keeps increasing even after the age of 18 to 20 years, when our other myopia tend to stop and there is not much more increase in the power, but it keeps on increasing even after that age. The degenerative changes can result in abnormal visual functions such as a decrease in corrected visual acuity or change in visual fields. Sequelae such as retinal detachment, glaucoma, and also SRNBM are common in these patients. Induced myopia is the one or acquired myopia is the result of exposure to various pharmaceutical agents, variation in blood sugar level, or there might be nuclear sclerosis of crystalline lens which gives to the index myopia, or other anomalous condition. Some are reversible, suppose is because of the glycemic changes, it is reversible. Once the glycemia level comes down, the myopia comes to the normal level, and some are not reversible which needs surgical corrections. Based on degree of myopia, can be low myopia less than 3 diopter, medium is the one 3 to 6 diopter, and high is more than 6 diopter. So classification based on age of onset. If sometimes it is since birth, present at birth and persistent throughout infancy, it is congenital myopia. Youth onset is less than 20 years, and this is the most common type of myopia we encounter. Early adult onset myopia is 20 to 40 years of age, and late adult onset, mostly because of the lenticular changes, is after age of the 40 years of age. Thank you.
So thank you, Biswajit. It was a wonderful thing where you have classified various types of myopia. So in pseudomyopia, what will be your treatment?
So pseudomyopia, we should have to first confirm whether there is a refractive error is there or not, and we have to do a cycloplegic refraction. Many a times I've seen the patient who are malingering, they tend to have a pseudomyopia, and they accommodated too much intentionally to seek the attention. And you have to first confirm that whether myopia is there or not, refractive error there is not. If it is not there, you just have to do a psychological counseling. And
pseudomyopia usually leads to some form of squints, no?
If you accommodate, there is a ciliary spasm, and it gives rise to the esotropia.
Esotropia. So in those cases, you give some cycloplegic drugs. Then
alternate day cyclopentolate for a period of 3 months. That relieves that accommodation spasm.
And that takes care of the squint also. So we need not require a surgical correction. So thank you very much. Any questions from the house? Yeah, it's ideally recommended to have a cycloplegic refraction, because sometimes, as he said, some accommodative spasm or hyperaccommodative cases, if you miss those cases, the patient will have residual myopia later on, and that may lead to a lot of trouble.
Ideally, any patients who is presenting with refractive error below the age of 16 years should have a cycloplegic refraction. Any patient who first time reports high refractive error even at the age above 20 years, we should do a cycloplegic refraction, or at least tropicamide dilated refraction to know whether there is a
Nikhil.
refractive error is the total amount, or there is some other hidden component there.
So thank you, Biswajit. So any questions we can